Good evening, West Orange, and welcome to our conference town council agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please read?
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on September 26, 2018, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on October 4, 2018. Councilwoman Castellino?
Present.
Councilman Krakowiak?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Present.
Council President Garino.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
That too.
Sorry. It's been a long weekend. Councilwoman Castellino, would you like to do what we spoke about now? And
Sure.
then I'll do this thing. Okay, I would like to pass the microphone over to Councilwoman Castellino.
Thank you, Council President. As most of you might have heard, we had a tragedy in our West Orange community this past week. Last Thursday, we lost one of our beloved alumni from West Orange High School, an all-around student athlete, member of our junior ROTC, proud cadet at West Point, and part of a great West Orange family. Chris Morgan had such a great personality. He had such a big smile that he lit up a room when he walked into it. He was a great friend to so many and a great asset to our community. And what happened up at West Point is felt nationwide this past week, and our community has come out. They have been so supportive to this family, as we would expect everyone in West Orange to react to such a tragedy to hit our hometown. And we appreciate the public understanding us moving the council meeting to tonight, because last night the high school gave a beautiful memorial service in honoring of Chris and his family. Chris was part of the wrestling community. He was part of the junior ROTC community, and even part of the band. And all around, his dad referred to him as a Renaissance man last night as he spoke, and the poise of the family and the strength and their faith, and all of our community to supporting them will help us get through these tragedies. So I just wanted to, and thank you, Council President, to have a moment in silence on a member of our community whose life has been lost at such a young age. And we will all remember Chris in our hearts, and his family, the Morgan family, in our prayers. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And just to add to it, and to add to the Councilwoman's, and I'm sure all my colleagues, whether you knew Chris Morgan or not, he was your friend. And last night's turnout from the West Orange community, both the school community and the general public, truly shows what we are as a township and what this young man meant and represented of the true youth of West Orange. So thank God that he passed our way this one time. So thank you, Chris Morgan. Going right along, we'd like to say another thing and another goodbye to another good young man. So Ernest, would you please come up to the podium? Hey, Ernest.
Downtown staff, you mean?
I have to it's something I want to do very much. Ernest has been an intricate and very important part of the Township of West Orange. And we couldn't have done, and Megan Brill couldn't have done, and Joe Fagan couldn't have done, and the members of the West Orange Downtown Alliance could not have done all the programs we've put together over the years because of Ernest. This young man gave of his time, was always there when we needed him, even when we didn't need him. But it's another image of the true youth of West Orange and what our community is all about. I mean, I can't now, and I won't be able to have a downtown holiday open house, you know, breakfast with Santa, our street fair, because we won't have our Ernest. And it's been a pleasure to watch this young man grow up, to see his contributions to his community. I know the Downtown West Orange Alliance, and I'm sure I can speak for my council colleagues, that we will miss you, that you always have a family here in West Orange. Will always be your home. And all you have to do is pick up the phone and let us know, and if you don't, we'll come after you. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, Ernest, in the years that you've helped Megan and Joe and all of us on the Downtown Alliance, and we're present on Main Street, on behalf of the Township of West Orange, the Township Council, the administration, and all your friends, and everybody out in West Orange who's watching tonight, thank you, Ernest. And I'm going to read the citation and everything else, which I hope you'll keep with you, so always remember that you do have family and home here in West Orange. And if you expect me to pronounce your name, I apologize. But you can mention it, so it's like, okay. Okay, citation of the West Orange Township Council. The Township Council of the Township of West Orange is proud to recognize
Izuchukwu Ernest Anumadi.
Okay. Good, you can continue.
Okay. Izuchukwu Ernest was
born
on June 12th.
I'll finish his part. Okay. 202, to his proud parents. Go ahead.
Chinyere and Obanyo Anumadi.
Okay. He's one of 6 children. The family moved from Nigeria to the United States in 2009 when Ernest was 7 years old. He attended Redwood Elementary School, Edison Middle School, Liberty Middle School, and West Orange High School, and is a proud member of the West Orange High School ROTC. When Ernest was 10 years old, while riding his bicycle on Main Street, he met and befriended Megan Brill of the Downtown West Orange Alliance and started to volunteer his time. He became her right-hand man, which is very true, using his time and energy to assist with setting up and breaking down at the farmers market and street fair. He would hand out flyers and help to organize and carry boxes. As he got older, he organized the younger volunteers, leaving time for Megan to take care of other matters. Megan has the sincerest affection for Ernest and will miss him as he moves to Arizona to start his next chapter in his life. The Township Council wishes to extend their gratitude and best wishes to Ernest for all that he has done for the community and all that he has yet to do in life. Congratulations, Ernest. So now, would you like to say something? Yes. Please do.
I don't know what really to say, but it's been a pleasure ever since moving here, getting a new look on life, getting everything all processed and all. You know, it's been a pleasure being West Orange. West Orange has always been my family. Ever since I started helping with the Downtown Alliance, I've been given a lot of opportunities. There's been good times, bad times, but West Orange has always been there to help me. I've learned a lot of stuff, but I haven't learned, there's a lot of stuff I still have to learn, but this town has taught me a lot, and I will always carry that with me everywhere I go. Thank you.
Thank you. I know your best bud, Megan, would like to say something to you.
Okay, well, because it's your birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right, that was just an extra added benefit that today's your birthday. We do have a birthday card from a few folks with the Downtown Alliance, and I have to say that Ernest would actually show up when he said he was going to show up and get there early. When I would call him, he would pick up the phone. When I would text him, he would respond back to me, whether it was 10 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock in the morning. So truly was one of those kids in the neighborhood that I could really count on and be good with our equipment. I'm crazy about our tables and chairs and the way we move everything, and he just got it. He knew not to drag the tables across the floor or stack and fold all the chairs on the ground. So it's going to be really hard to replace you, and I'm hoping that June 6th you end up flying back home. You can stay with me. And we did want to get you something to decorate, your new house and home with. So we got you a really nice gift card. And I can't say enough, Ernest, how much I'm really going to miss you, Pat.
And one last person who could not speak, our town historian, Joe Fagan.
Ernest, I really at a loss for words. We hate to see you go. You're an incredible young man. I know wherever you go, you will be successful. So fear not leaving West Orange. Step into your future. It awaits you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything, but most importantly, thank you for being my friend. And so that I'm not forgotten, it's available at all better bookstores. It's a $20 book. I'll sell it to you for half price. Don't worry. Just so you remember us, Ernest. It's the book I wrote. Okay, I want you to learn about West Orange. And thank you so much.
Oh, there you go. I want to take a picture of you. Sure, please. You snooped Jerry right out of it.
It's okay. And before you go, sir, I want to thank you and your wife for sharing Ernest with us. He's a remarkable young man, and we thank you for the time you let him spend with us. Probably kept him out of the house too, but thank you, and we wish you and your entire family continued success, health, and happiness, and always remember, West Orange is still your home. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernest. Thank you. It just goes to show the great young people that we have in the township of West Orange, that we couldn't be as good a town without them. So we thank him, and we hope to see him next June 6th, Megan. So he's going to be with you? Okay. Okay. Update on redevelopment. Mr. Sayers?
Not really much. Fortunately, I was unable to speak to Mr. Diaz this week. I think he's out of the country. But I did talk to one of his workers, and what they told me was that they have 100. Actually, right now, they believe there's 122 leases.
Any questions for Mr. Sayers?
No.
Michelle? Susan? No? Joe? No? Thank you, Mr. Sayers. Much appreciated. Council liaison announcements. Councilman Kukoviac?
Thank you. Let me just get my notes here. The Open Space and Recreation Committee met last week, and the big news coming out of that is that we're going to have a planting day on Saturday, June 22nd, starting at 10 a.m. Bring a shovel or some hand tools if you'd like. It's at The Rock. It's at 577 Mount Pleasant Avenue, which is the top of the hill across from the recycling center and Summit Ridge. We're discussing whether we need to make additional accommodations for people. Previously, we have run a shuttle from Liberty Middle School. We're not sure if we're going to do that, but so just keep watching the town website, because we'll be announcing that. That's all, Council President.
Anything else, Councilman?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Castellino?
Sure. First of all, I would be remiss if I didn't mention and thank Ernest for all his help with Breakfast with Santa. One thing about Ernest, as Megan knows, you could leave him with the whole group of student volunteers, and he does take note and detail of how things should get done, and just the maturity of this young man has always been so impressive, and his commitment to West Orange, and we certainly will miss him as well. Yesterday, I just want to thank, prior to the community memorial, which I'd like to thank our police and firefighters for participating up there. Officer Squires and the Community Service Unit was hosting a pool party with our Elks Club in the township. The Elks had gotten, through the community, working with our Community Service Unit, a grant for our students, our elementary age students, on drug awareness. So the program ran for 5 to 6 weeks. And we thank our officers for participating with our students, and they celebrated the ending of the program with a pool party with the Elks, the West Orange Elks, barbecuing for the students from Washington Street School. So it was a nice event. And speaking of which, the pool looked really beautiful yesterday. The work that, first chance I got to go when everything was completed, and the pool really looks awesome, so it's no wonder why memberships are with all the improvements there. So we like to thank the rec for that. I also, in regards to my liaison meetings, we have a West Orange Public Relations meeting tomorrow night in the conference room, where you have a visit from Laura Van Dyke, who's our new Senior Citizens Coordinator, coming to speak with the group to see how we could assist her in all things getting the word out on all their senior programs. And I hope, Ms. Brill, and we could help you out with Downtown Thursday Night, so we're looking forward to that. Also, I had a meeting this past month with the members, the board of the Degnan House, and a bid is they were bidding out the roof. The roof will be getting done this year, so that's exciting news for the residents there. And let's see, 2 announcements. Friday, June 21st, the Recreation Department will be sponsoring sports and games at the Township Pool, which is always a big night, get everyone out and to celebrate the summer. And of course, 4th of July, we have our Food Truck Festival at West Orange High School starting at 3 p.m. And that's about it for now. So thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Matute-Brown?
Actually, just a few comments. First, I'd like to start off by making a public announcement with respect to our officer who is very beloved to our community, Chris Jaksic, who is on his way to recovery after an accident while on Pleasant Valley Way. Spoke to him yesterday, and he's in good spirits, but pretty banged up, so we wish him well. Also, I wanted to acknowledge, with respect to yesterday's memorial service, the wonderful community that we have. The turnout was impressive. I couldn't ask to live in a better town. I really do appreciate all of the efforts that the school and all the other organizations put together. And I do want to, by name, call out 2 people that I've admired for many, many years. My children are all now young adults, and Coach Zakella is an unsung hero, I have to say. He is someone who doesn't do it for recognition, but at 5 a.m. in the morning, he'd pick up his kids to go to wrestling practice and just committed his life to them, and has asked for nothing in return. He's a wonderful educator, a leader, a mentor, and certainly someone who loves our children, and as well as Mr. Hayden Moore, who I am so proud to say that he is a part of our school district. And again, I don't have children in the school district anymore, but it's just as important to recognize these amazing educators that don't get the recognition and the thanks, but love our kids so much. So to them, publicly, thank you for all that you do, and all the other educators in West Orange as well. June 21st, the OSPAC is having its Summer Fest, so we're looking forward to clear skies. Hopefully, pray for clear skies. There will be 5 o'clock food and activities for kids, And at 6 o'clock, music for the adults, and we will be closing off by 8 p.m. with a tribute to Billy Joel, which I'm actually looking forward to. So please be sure to join us for the opening of OSPAC. A lot of elbow grease has gone into this to make sure that it's ready for our community to enjoy. So I look forward to seeing you out there.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman McCartney.
Thank you. I concur with my colleagues about the Morgan family. They're a beautiful family, have raised beautiful children. And I was also so impressed by their strength to be able to speak at the memorial, to give us a little insight into their family. So please keep the Morgan family in your thoughts and prayers. Council liaison announcement, the West Orange Arts Council this Saturday, June 15th, 551 Valley Road, will begin the Enrique Zalavar exhibit. Please visit westorangearts.org to see all of the other workshops and exhibits that they have, upcoming events. At the Rena House meeting on Monday, the property managers have agreed to supply 4 computers and printers for the residents there. That was good news. And there will be a special planning board meeting next Tuesday, June 18th at 7:30 here in Council Chambers to talk about the redevelopment plan for the library.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And I'm glad they came through on the PCs. That was really great. Thank you, Councilwoman. Coming up, we got a great event on June 18th. From 6 to 7 p.m. at Washington Middle School, we have our annual bike rodeo for our West Orange students. So it's another program done by the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board and by Easy Ride New Jersey, who supports safe routes to school. So we're really happy about that. The applications are being distributed to all the schools. They were approved by the superintendent the other day. So please reach out to the school, get applications, sign the waiver, and please make sure you bring the waiver and the application the day to the rodeo. There'll be helmets being given out like we did the prior year, some great bike helmets which every child should be wearing. And also at the end, the police department sponsoring a barbecue at the Elks that'll immediately follow the rodeo. It's a great event. We had over 75 participants last year. We're looking for the same amount or even more. It's just another great way how West Orange made the gold level for safe routes to school. So we're very proud of them. And thank you to Lori Kaffner for really heading up this great event. Another great thing, I don't know if Councilwoman McCartney mentioned it, but we have a new business opening up on Pleasant Valley Way on June 27th at 10 a.m. It's Columbia Savings Bank, taking the place of the old PNC. So I hope I didn't mention that. So if you can make it, please make and go show that the community supports this new endeavor. We always look to see new businesses coming into the area, so we're very proud that's not a vacant location for a long time. Also on June 19th, 7 p.m. is the Downtown West Orange Alliance meeting. Please come out and talk to our board members. Business people should come. It's at 7 p.m. in the conference room here in Township Hall. Come, ask questions, get some advice, and meet the people who are a big part of the downtown revitalization. Also, if we didn't talk about it too, it was a fantastic street fair. Megan, I don't know, I get estimates between 6,000 and 7,000 people. I know all the vendors. We had 24, how many food trucks? 25 food trucks? No, 15. Okay, so it was really great. But the soccer tournament's going to seal a bunch of them, so we're going to do that. So it was a fantastic street fair. You know, you all should come out too and support the farmers market. Stacy is doing, and her husband are doing such a fantastic job, and we all should be really proud of her and her husband. And if anybody could really help, please reach out to her on Facebook or to the Downtown Alliance. And if you can come give a couple of hours a day on Saturday just to help her do the farmers market, it's such a great thing. And I think you'll get to get involved in the township. But my compliments and my thanks, I seriously, my colleagues on the Township Council, you know, we send our thanks out to her and her husband. So it's another great thing for our community and for the downtown. Other than that, I think that's about it. Madam Clerk? No? Okay, we got to talk for another minute? Okay. Okay. So no. Yes. Oh, Mr. Fagan. I'm sorry. I thought you. Okay. Our town historian, Mr. Joe Fagan, would like to say a few words. Thank you, Joe.
I won't be a minute, but I will be brief. Two things I'd like to bring to your attention. One, as public information officer, as you may be aware, there will be road closures on Mount Pleasant Avenue beginning tomorrow night and Friday after 7 o'clock, continuing through June 28th. And it's hard to be a little bit concise exactly when the road closures are going to take place because it's all contingent upon the weather. But if they're going to be remilling from Gregory Avenue to Main Street on Mount Pleasant Avenue, and it's for sure going to cause some inconvenience, especially coming off the heels of the road closure at Eagle Rock Avenue last week due to the accident. So I just wanted to make all residents aware. I have flyers up here to be aware if you're on one of those dead-end streets, you need to get your car out because you may not have access to the street. Very briefly, I'd like to switch hats, so to speak, and talk to you just for a quick minute as town historian. As time and circumstances permit, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you West Orange artifacts. And I want to start tonight with the oldest written document likely ever to enter Town Hall. And most of us in our lifetime will never see a document this old. And what I'm specifically talking about is a land deed that is 301 years old. And in many ways, it's a birth certificate of West Orange. And this dates to 1718 and is from one of the original settlers of 1666 in Newark. And it grants land to the Freeman family, which is in West Orange, which what would become West Orange, in the Orange Valley, Walker Road, Yale, Harvard Terrace area there. And this survived to the 1960s in the Freeman family and was left behind by the oldest surviving resident, ancestor of the Freeman family in her house. She inadvertently left it in a box in the garage with other documents. And shortly after the new resident had moved in, the son was playing in the garage and kicked a ball, and it dislodged the box, and the box literally fell from the rafters into the 21st century. So this is, in many ways, as I mentioned, a birth certificate of West Orange. The hamlet started out as Freemantown and eventually became part of what West Orange is today. And the date is on here, and it also mentions in here the 4th year of reign of King George of England. So that's how old this is. So I just wanted to share that with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Always enjoyable.
Did you get that framed?
Did you pick that up yourself, John?
Report on
Thank you.
Did you knock the box off the rafters too?
No. I was just getting under discussion.
Madam Clerk? Thank you, Joe.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on September 26, 2018, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on October 4, 2018. Councilwoman Castellino?
Present.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Present.
Council President Carino.
Present.
Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The council is now in their public meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I now open the council to public comment. If someone would like to speak, make a presentation to the Township Council, please raise your hand and I'll call you up. When you come up to the podium, please speak into the microphones clearly, slowly, and give us your name and your address. Thank you. Anyone wishing to speak to the Township Council? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Michael Cassidy, President, West Orange PBA, Local 25 Superior Officers Association, 1 Carey Street. Unfortunately, PBA President Chris Jassic cannot be here tonight as he continues to recover from the injuries sustained while on duty after being struck by a vehicle while operating his motorcycle. Officer Jassic is not the only officer that was injured in the last few weeks. Another officer sustained a needle prick while detaining a suspect, and while that officer is now back at work, they had spent several weeks taking medication that helps reduce the chances that they will contract hepatitis or HIV. We also were lucky that another officer only sustained minor injuries whilst trying to subdue a combative suspect. In 1997, the state legislature and governor understood that police officers and firemen face risks during their careers that can cause long-term medical conditions that often don't show until they are retired, and passed Chapter 330, which provided retirement health benefits to police officers and firemen whose towns did not provide coverage for retirees at the time it was enacted. They understood that people take on these careers do so with the knowledge that at least their medical needs and family will be taken care of. The township is refusing to negotiate unless the PBA SOA agreed to give up retirement benefits for new hires. This plan increases the township's unfunded liabilities by at least 15 to 20 million in today's dollars and offers no savings for at least 25 years. It will also put a burden on the township's ability going forward to attract and retain qualified candidates to be police officers. With 26 officers eligible to retire by the end of 2022, the township will be competing for candidates as departments across the nation continue to struggle to recruit and retain police officers. We are proud to let the property owners and taxpayers know that we have submitted an offer to the township that will cut costs immediately and are the only ones with a comprehensive plan that will rein in this year's budget without reducing services. A few months ago, I was publicly berated for saying that the township could save $2 million by going to the state health benefits plan. I must apologize tonight because I was wrong. My math skills are not always the best. However, with the assistance of New Jersey State PBA and their benefits expert, Kevin Lyons, we conducted an analysis of the benefits and found the real savings would be $4 million. We are continuing to work on it, and we hope to have the finalized numbers in a few weeks. After the public comment closes, you're going to hear how the township can consider the state health benefit plan because there are clauses in the contract that state the health benefits must be equal to or better than the benefits are in place. Here's another little secret the township won't tell you. There is a clause in the contract that states retirees will receive retired health benefits. The township would like you to believe that they're willing to fight for a plan that increases their unfunded liabilities and does not save the taxpayers $1 for 25 years. Their plan shows 0% raises, elimination of health benefits, and 8.5% tax raise as an accomplishment. The township's budget presentation say they need $5 million to keep the tax increase to 2%, and that will require mass layoffs. We are willing to discuss a way to save $4 million. I have a few ideas on how we may be able to reduce the cost of garbage collection. If we can examine the budget closely, I'm sure we can close the gap to complete the $5 million, if not more. While we have reservations about the state health benefits plans, we know it's the only way to reduce costs while keeping the same level of service. As taxpayers, you must ask yourself, why are your elected officials fighting so hard to save 25 years from now while ignoring the savings that is right here today? A few weeks ago, the council passed 2 resolutions approving contracts for the fire department. Those resolutions should never have been voted on simply because they did not have all the facts. If you would like to save money now, it is imperative that you contact your elected municipal representatives today. Ask them what is their plan to reduce the budget. Ask them what does the fire contract cost the township over the next 25 years and how much savings does it produce today. We are willing to meet the Citizens Budget Advisory Board or any group of residents that would like to learn more. We are willing to come to the table and ensure that the employees and taxpayers are the ones that benefit together and ensure that West Orange grows and prospers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak to the Township Council? Yes.
My name is Michaela Bennett, and I live at Old Indian Road. I didn't plan to get up here and speak, so I'll be very brief. But, you know, I sat in the back listening to the plea about a contract for our police officers, and I really think that it's unconscionable that you would sit and approve an expenditure to purchase a piece of property. It's unconscionable that you would sit and listen to a budget presentation that suggests that universal health care will ultimately be the law of the land. So why bother making sure that our police officers have the type of health benefits that they should be entitled to, because they put their lives on the line every single day they come to work. And all they want is that the future of this town does not undercut itself so that the quality of law enforcement remains the same. How dare you or we stand between them and the state health benefit plan if it's going to save money for our township and provide them with excellent health benefits. Having been a state employee for 13 and a half years, enjoying the state health benefit plan all 13 and a half years, I can tell you without reservation, it's a perfectly fine plan. And I would ask all of you who were elected by us to ask yourselves why the mayor is stuck with keeping health benefits with the provider of the current plan. Let's not be disingenuous. Let's operate with intellectual honesty, and let's do what's right for our town and for the people who serve us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the Township Council? Yes, Ms. Brill.
Hi, thanks everybody. I'm Megan Brill, Executive Director with the Downtown Alliance. Thanks for kind words about the street fair. We definitely had an excellent day. We had 120 vendors that we loaded in 3 hours, and without incident. This year we had no accidents or any hiccups with the plan. We loaded in a little bit differently this year, and it worked, so we're going to stick with that plan. It should be noted that the CVS and the residents along the footprint are greatly impacted by the street fair, and CVS willingly gives up their parking lot and a lot of the money that they make that day because no one can really get to them. Police allow people with a prescription to get into CVS, and residents are allowed to get in and out, but definitely is a big impact. And the management of CVS, and actually this year I spoke to the regional manager and the property managers for the 217 Main Street, and they all could not have been easier to work with and willing to let us use their parking lot and kind of be in the middle of the street fair. It should be noted too that the residents that live on Edisonia and Shepherd Terrace can't pull their cars back into the driveway, and Rick, my husband, who worked all day that day, brought groceries from a gentleman who did not realize that he couldn't get back to his house, and Rick brought the groceries to his house, and he was very inconvenienced and was so kind and sweet and loved the street fair. So we try real hard to make sure that everyone knows that the street's going to get closed and that you're not going to be able to get back to your house, and we really appreciate the impact that has on you. Any other day, we do close Main Street, the 5K run, but it's only for part of the day. The parade, and still only part of the day. Street fair is a 7 to 7 operation. So I can't say enough thank you to all the residents that, kind of put up with us being in the street that day. We should note that yoga is happening at the farmers market, 9-10, and then you can go shopping. So we'll be at 80 Main, ready to go with the Yoga Ground, or Downtown Alliance business owner, Kristen Brunello, will be on hand to teach about a half-an-hour yoga class. We also have Downtown Thursdays happening this summer. We want you to look out for something cool happening in downtown on Thursdays. That's the easiest way to explain what we're doing on Thursdays. Banners are going up, and it'll be all over social media what we're doing and where we're going. It will have a mixture of free things for kids and families and adults to participate in, as well as stuff for purchase in all of the businesses in each one of the 4 areas. And lastly, we have West Orange Idols coming back. We're going to be up at OSPAC this year, so I'm very excited that I don't have to find a stage or light the field or find electricity at Edison Middle School field. So we're going to be at OSPAC, and we're just singing this year. So bands are asked to participate, as well as anyone that likes to sing. And we're going to have 4 prizes. There'll be Best Band, Best Adult, Best Teen, and Best Child. So, and that is actually Sunday this year, Sunday, July 21st. So thanks everybody for your attention and kind words about the street fair.
Ms. Burrell, just for just a moment, when is the first event up at OSPAC under Pleasant Valley Productions?
Right, so, and actually I think Cindy mentioned it, so the Summerfest kickoff is, and actually it's a Billy Joel band that will be there. What's it called? The New York State of Mind is the band, and Carl Brister, who did the Unity concert last year, he's going to be singing a little bit. It's going to be a whole big festival, similar to what I think happened there at the Summer Solstice, where there'll be face painting and princesses running around and food and all kinds of good stuff. But yeah, that starts, it's a 4 o'clock on a Friday and it goes to 9. And I can say that I was at the Hispanic Festival event on last Saturday, and the way they rigged the light bar to allow for some lights on the field, it's crazy trying to break that down at 9 o'clock at night in the dark. So towards the summer, it stays lighter later, but still now it's pretty dark. So having the lights on the field really allowed everyone to safely pack up and get out of there. And it was hugely attended, probably the best Latin night that I've seen up there. So.
Thank you. So, Councilwoman Tupper, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you when I'm sorry. Thank you.
Actually, I heard that's
okay. No, I'm getting close to there. Thank you, Ms. Burrell. Would anyone else like to speak to the Township Council? Yes, sir. Would you come up, please?
Lawrence Maccabee, 2 Mountain Way. Let me just say up front, nothing I'm going to say has anything to do with the police or the union negotiations, so no disrespect intended. And I'm also going to try to stay positive, which we'll see how that goes. I was here on Saturday for 11 hours with the town council. I was sitting right over there. I learned a new appreciation for the cushions about 3 hours in. So what I'm saying is from my own personal knowledge. Everyone on the town council, from what I saw, recognizes the size of the tax increase and the severity of it. No one's blowing it off. There were people on the town council that I had formed certain opinions of that were more challenging than I expected. I'm somewhat of a cynic, but that was one of the first things when I got home. I told my wife, I'm like, well, this person said this, and I was surprised. The administration, in terms of the department heads, and I take this from the point of view of being a department head. I've been the person in a department defending their budget most of my adult life. Every one of them were very focused. They were prepared. It's clear the mayor definitely, and you'll excuse the phrase, put the screws on them in terms of cutting their budgets. I was very impressed. I was also impressed by the focus and helpfulness that Mr. Gross brought in the meeting. Several times the meeting got somewhat heated, and I think he reined it in very effectively. So from my point of view, just to summarize, because there's been a lot of things said, a lot of inflammatory language, and in the end we're talking about budgets. This is there's inflation, but there shouldn't be inflammation, if you know what I mean. Fixed costs have increased. There's no dodging or weaving it. They've gone up. I believe the town administration and the department heads that were here on Saturday, some in shorts, but that's okay. have made as many cuts as they can to their departments. It's clear to me the order of the mayor was to cut everything up to service impact, and that he has firmly left in the town council's lap to make decisions on what things not to do. It's clear some services may need to be cut at some point, or some choices may need to be made to rein in the increase. Limiting the increase, we'll see. Maybe you guys are miraculous. It doesn't seem possible to me. To sum up, and I said this in an email to the town council, but I'll read part of what I wrote. I urge the town council to be realistic and not turn this into a debacle like the election insanity that we recently had in town. Now is not the time to argue over negligible cuts that will have no impact. Either be willing to take the big decisions together as a group, or accept that it can't be changed and state that as a group. Lots of things have already been raised about Rock Spring Golf Club, et cetera, et cetera. Those are immaterial to the budget choices in front of you now. All of that, and to be honest, a lot of the people raising it here and in Facebook are distracting from the issues and decisions you guys need to make. I would urge you to, if Spinal Tap had speakers that go to 11, put them down to -1, and make the decisions you need to make. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Claire Silvestri, 20 Grandview Avenue. There are some serious issues being discussed this evening, and my request may sound petty, but not in light of the fact that we just sat there and couldn't understand. Those of us sitting towards the middle or the back of the chambers could not understand anything that the last speaker spoke, because the air conditioning is running. I went and I looked, it's set at 68 degrees. We're all freezing back there, in addition to the fact that we can't hear. And so we'd really appreciate it if the administration would turn up the thermostat to like 72, because these are serious issues being discussed here, and I don't mean to make light of it, but if we've come to the council, we'd like to be able to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to make a presentation to the Township Council? Yes.
Can you run the clock?
Good evening, Tammy Williams, Hillside Avenue. I'm just coming on behalf of the chairwoman of the Human Relations Commission. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Castellino for coming to our senior line dancing night. Hopefully you all are checking us out on Facebook and looking at the seniors who are having a tremendous time every first Friday, just having a good old time line dancing. They are asking us to come for much longer than the 1 hour period. But it's just an opportunity to hang out with our seniors. All are welcome. It's a free event, and they look forward to being entertained. So again, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Castellino for coming last week. Also, as a reminder, our next line dancing with our seniors at the Rena House is scheduled for July 5th. That's the Friday after the 4th of July. And so we hope that more people can join us. In addition, I would also like to just let the community know that we just founded the West Orange Suicide Advocacy Coalition. And we have branded that as the Stop Suicide Advocacy Coalition. And on October 6th, we will have our first fundraiser, West Orange Run for Zach. And Zach, if you do not know, was a 2011 graduate of West Orange High School. He was 24 years old last year when he took his life. And so what our intent and purpose is to raise awareness about suicide and to increase suicide prevention in our municipality. And we want to erase the stigma that is associated with suicide and suicide prevention. I want to also share with those of you who may not be aware that since Zach's death last year in 2018, in the early part of the year, his mother had attempted suicide on 2 occasions. Last weekend, being overcome with grief, she attempted suicide for the 3rd time. She is currently in University Hospital. It is very important to me that we take this issue seriously, that we do all that we can. While she is an adult who is dealing with the pain and grief of suicide, we also know that our children and our schools have increased incidents of suicide, and the only way we are going to make West Orange a suicide-free zone is if we increase the conversations, we talk about the symptoms, and we help everyone know how to watch for the signs. So I encourage everyone to come out on October 6th, participate in this West Orange Run for Zach. We will also in September be participating with the middle and high schools, raising awareness in September's Suicide Prevention Month. We're going to ask everyone on the week of September 9th through the 13th to wear green, which is to encourage and make everyone aware of suicide prevention. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Seeing none, I close public comment and I open the council floor to my council colleagues. Councilman Kukoviac, please make your comments, questions.
Yes, sir. Lieutenant Cassidy, thank you very much for coming once again to the council. I certainly don't want to get in the way of the contract negotiations, but I am interested in hearing more about your analysis and ideas, particularly about the state health care plan. I thought that the mayor pretty clearly said at his second budget presentation that the current rates in the state plan are less than what the township is experiencing, but that he had other concerns. But if you're projecting $4 million in savings, I think the council should learn much more about, given that we're facing such a painful tax increase in this year's budget. So I don't know what the method might be, but it would be very helpful to know more about what you're talking about. Again, not getting involved with the contract negotiations, but if there's ways that we can save money, particularly substantial money, I would definitely like to hear them. Mr. Maccabee, I appreciate you coming today and also coming Saturday. I was amazed that you were able to be there the entire day. And I do agree with you that we, as a council, have some big decisions to make about whether we can balance reducing the tax increase with some potential service cuts. And we, as a council, are going to be talking about that in the weeks to come, because everything is still on the table with the budget. The council has the power to, if they have 3 votes, can reduce any expenditure, and if they have 4 votes, they can increase the expenditure. We reduced a little more than $120,000 out of the budget on Saturday, out of the mayor's recommendations of the budget on Saturday, and now we have to spend more time trying to get a better idea of where we want the township to go, both financially and service-wise. And I, Mr. Maccabee, I also appreciate when you talk about your comment about negligible cuts. And I suppose that's in the eye of the beholder, but I believe that I, if not the council, have a responsibility to save every dollar that we can save, because that directly drops down to the tax increase for our residents, our taxpayers. So I think we should look at both. We should look at the large and we should look at the small, because every dollar saved is important to me. That's it, Mr.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council President.
Councilwoman McCartney.
Mr. Maccabee, I also feel like I still have jet lag from Saturday, being here for almost 12 hours. I guess your comments tie in perfectly with the Lieutenant Cassidy speaking about the this plan. We did scrutinize the budget for 12 hours on Saturday. We are looking at, we went through line-by-line review. Mike, exactly what you said. The administration said that it did not compare favorably. So it's unfortunate that we don't have an executive session on here. Maybe at our next meeting we can, unless we settle something sooner than that. But I have not seen what you have, your findings, and I would certainly like to see that and compare it to what the administration's analysis is of the healthcare benefits or the costs of them. So we would definitely be interested in looking at that. Megan, thanks about the street fair. Tammy will just continue to work on the suicide prevention. Not much more to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes, actually. Thank you, Council President. I'll start with Ms. Silvestri. It was freezing in here because, unfortunately, I was having a personal summer, and I walked in here screaming that it was hot. So my apologies for that being so cold in here, but I have my fan, so I'm okay with the AC being off. And I know that one of the things that we are discussing or will be discussing sometime in the future, hopefully not in the distant future, is improvement to the sound equipment here for council chambers, because it certainly is needed. Mr. McAbee, thank you for spending the time that you spent here. That was quite the commitment. Okay, so that was quite the commitment. 13 hours, particularly for a first-time council member, newly elected, was certainly quite challenging, but it was certainly a learning experience for me. Being elected and having the responsibility that I have been entrusted with, I am going to take the time that I'm going to take to make sure that I understand the budget and that I question the budget, particularly when we're looking at such an increase for our residents. And I did just want to point out something that you mentioned with respect to, I am happy that there are challenges by council members and questions, because that to me represents an interest in representing residents. And the mayor, I wouldn't necessarily say, actually I wouldn't say order, I think that he recommended to the town council to look at the budget. So I just want to be careful with the language that we use, right, because the mayor doesn't order a governing body, he makes recommendations to a governing body that we actually take into consideration. And it is a hefty ask for the council to look at this increase. So I'm sure that I can say with confidence that my council colleagues were quite challenging, and I'm happy that that was something that we all undertook. So thank you for your commitment. Ms. Bennett, I do agree. We do have a major responsibility, several, and it's not something that we take lightly, and trust that we will continue to advocate as well on behalf of our residents. Michael Cassidy, I always appreciate your information and your knowledge. I have great respect for your learned abilities to communicate the research that you and your union members have put together. I am a state employee. I am a supporter of the labor union. I think that particularly if it is a savings to our residents, that is certainly something that we have the responsibility as a council to entertain. I am looking forward to having further discussion with council colleagues with respect to that. I realize also negotiating labor contracts as the president of my association that contracts are just that. And when you're in the state of negotiation, whether the language says equal to or better, everything can be negotiated. And I want to commend you and your members for willing to negotiate language that's pretty solid in your contract for the benefit of the residents. I agree that our first responders should be entitled to. I don't support the fact that retiree benefits are something that is not offered in other towns, and I would not like to see that happen here. We expect you to go into spaces and places where we run out of that may be chemical filled and certainly quite hazardous. I think it's a moral responsibility that we have to ensure that we take care of you as well as you've taken care of us. So I appreciate your service. Thank you for coming out, and I look forward to further discussions. And I also wanted to point out for my council colleagues as well as for the general public, the League of Municipalities is supporting a bill, and that bill is S2899, which is expanding the language of units, local units, thereby giving municipalities and boards of ed the ability to expand contracts and to share contracts for health services. I think that if we're looking at, what Medicare for all or global health care is going to look like in 20 years maybe, we certainly have a responsibility, and I charge everyone to look into that bill. If the League of Municipalities is supporting that, it's intended to save municipalities and boards of education money in health care. So please also make that part of the discussion. If it's something that we need to support, then we can come together and discuss that as well. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Castellino.
Thank you, Council President. I'll start off easy here with thanking Megan for all the hard work, and with you, the Downtown Lions, and all the volunteers with the street fair. A couple thousand people roaming the streets. Weather really cooperated this year. And again, Public Works, our police, and our fire did an awesome job with assisting. And your team of volunteers are impressive. And year after year, they go out and they put on a great street fair. So it was great feedback this year, and it's nice to see it streamlining year after year. So great job, and thank you for how many hours it takes for you to put the time that you put into it. Tammy, thank you. You promised me the electric slide, so I was glad to see that. And the Human Relations Commission, all of you volunteer your time. You're all over town. Again, you folks were out supporting the community last night at the memorial, and I didn't realize how much food you brought out for our seniors, so they were very appreciative to that. And, it's the volunteer times and the hours. We talk about all these programs and all these community events, and a lot of time it's volunteers and people coming out and supporting. So we thank you for all that you do for the community. Mr. McAbee, speaking of volunteering time, God bless you, 11 hours with us. I know I was jumping out of my chair a few times. It was not an easy day, and I have to thank the administration, because even reminding them, you live the budget, you breathe the budget day after day, and for all of us and my colleagues to sit here and crunch, and that 11 and a half hours was very, very challenging. But, and I appreciate your email and your insight on watching us, because I could just imagine what that looks like sometimes. I think we were pretty behaved, though. I know we got tense a few times, but I think we were pretty behaved, went out a few rounds. But, we're all trying, and we're frustrated, because a lot of these costs are mandated. I know I don't personally like that we have to keep bringing up pensions and benefits, because I hate to do that to our employees, because we value you, we value your service. I think the Congress needs to get their act together in regards to health care and stop fighting with each other and sit down and help us along here, because the costs are driven nationally, and it does not help us. Here we are all at each other's throats, so something needs to be done there as well. And that's frustrating. We look at things, garbage collection, just for a few facts here. Garbage collection, it's a set cost now because it's a contractual item. So there, we can't, there's not much we could do there once it's contractual. And it went up, again, nationally, China, issues with China. And for that service was priced out that if we if we changed it, it was a few savings. if we were to change things and do things differently. So, I've been explaining to residents all week on, certain matters that where we think we're saving, it's very, very, very little. And the reason why the contract is the way it is because recycling, if recycling changes and the weight goes into the garbage, then the tipping fees go up. So, you run all the scenarios. Beginning of last year, we tried to do a share service with the Board of Ed, and that didn't work out as well. There wasn't cost savings there. So, a lot goes into this behind the scenes before we even get it, and, we'll keep trying. But in regards to the contract, and I appreciate all of you coming down, I see some are firefighters back there for support. I sat on the negotiation team when I was on the school board, and I know when we talk about equal or better, we're not in a position just to change, to go to the state plan without a negotiation. You're right, we can negotiate, and you can negotiate. So I keep encouraging the administration, and I've talked to a few of the officers of your union leaders, and I keep encouraging you all to go back to the table and try to work this out. And again, I'm encouraging the administration. I'd like to hope that we could have another closed session at the next meeting. And, this analysis keeps coming up. So I really like to see in closed session, I like for us to go over these medical costs and is it feasible or not feasible? Again, we're not in the place to negotiate. That's the administration's position, but we are in the place where we could keep asking all of you to work together to try to figure this out. So hope you could keep moving forward, and I would like to call for a closed session if the support's from my colleagues, and to go over some numbers at the next meeting. And, hope that you'll be settled before then, but from what I'm hearing, it doesn't seem to be. So thank you for coming down, for all you do for our community. It's just not lip service to you. But, you're running some numbers here, $4 million in savings. Of course, we would want to save $4 million. And Mr. Gross, you need to go over the analysis with us. So I also know that you said you had a proposal, if we're allowed to review it. I'm not sure if your membership reviewed this proposal, but I'm willing to listen and willing to go over whatever we need to go over. But I do know from some of the questions I've asked about the health benefits plan in regards to co-pays and whatnot, but I think we need to sit as a group with you, Mr. Gross, and you need to compare what they're asking for us to look at versus, why your reasons things aren't panning out that way in negotiations. I know you're also limited of what you could say as well to us, but whatever information you could give us to help us understand the process, I'm sure we all appreciate that. And let's see, copy of proposal. That is it for me. In regards to the budget, though, going back to some of Mr. McAbee's comments and some of the comments that we're getting from the community, folks are coming to us and requesting, that we look into various items, cutting out fireworks, cutting out certain programs, going to a volunteer fire department. So we are getting all sorts of recommendations and having all sorts of painful conversations, something that I would never support a volunteer fire department in a township so large. But, and we had done a cost analysis, well, not in my time, but in shared services with the Orange Fire Department some years ago. So we are looking into a lot of suggestions, and if folks have suggestions, please continue to send them to us. But I would recommend, and I was going to wait to pending matters later this evening, but I was going to recommend to see where we're at, and if we could have another workshop budget hearing. It doesn't have to be on a Saturday, but if we want to, if any of us are entertaining to make any further cuts in regard to, these are conversations that need to be had. And I do agree with Mr. McAbee. We need to make a decision what direction we're going to go in. If we're going to stand by the budget, we did make cuts, about $130,000 on Saturday. Again, that didn't reflect a large amount in the tax dollar. I think, Mr. Gross, what are we at? Average homeowner, $270 for the year. For the year. Not a lot of folks were thinking this was per month, but it was for the year. And so we're trying, we slimmed it down, cut a few things out, but again, anywhere else we need to go is going to be in programming, services, and personnel. So I think we need to figure out where we want to go, and if need be, have another workshop. But we could say that from pending matters later to discuss. So I'm done, Council President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Castellano. Be as it may, I've always been a firm believer and always been a firm supporter of our first responders. And I always believe that a lot of the programs that we do, a lot of the programs that I initiated with pedestrian safety and our Downtown Alliance could not have been successful without the support of our police and fire departments. It's very important. I too would like to see your worksheets, your data that supports the reduction in expense. And those things I'd love to see. That's what I do for a living. So I would love to see your data tables, your aggregate tables, everything that supports what you're saying, so we can put those in front of the colleagues and we can examine them and challenge the administration with those numbers. So I look forward to seeing your data. We appreciate your work doing it. We appreciate the work that you had to do it, and that's what we would love to see. I'm very concerned. I'm glad that Officer Jasek is well, because he's been a tremendous help to my pedestrian safety advisory board. He's been very instrumental, as the whole police department has. So don't think you're not important to us, because you are. But when you look at budgets and you look at hard numbers, the one thing I do not want to see is I do not want to see a reduction in personnel, particularly in our first responders. It's the most important area we need to support. And that's what I would never want to see us going to affect our budget, to bring it down. So we have to work with you, and we want your data, and I look forward to receiving it and going over it. So I appreciate that, and I thank you for the service that you do to the residents of the Township of West Orange. Megan, thank you. Another great street fair. Let's hope for next year and everything, and thank you. I hope for the farmers market. I hope we can get some help for Stacy and her husband, because she looked so wiped out the other day, and she's really doing a great job. And as a volunteer doing it, I really respect that, and whatever we need to do, and we look forward to it. Mr. Fagan, thank you for your presentation. It's always good to hear the little tidbits about the township. Tammy, thank you. Thank you for the work you do. We look forward to working with you and getting what has to be accomplished to meet your agenda, and it's a good thing. And we look forward to the public support, for the walk run for Zach. So we look for that. Mr. McAbee, thank you. We appreciate you staying with us. I hope you ate. I hope you got to eat on Saturday, and spent the time with us. And we look forward to your input. We look forward to a lot of people's input. We wish more people would come. Send us emails, constructive emails, not negative emails. Constructive criticism is good. Constructive information is very good. It helps us make our decisions. I'd like to talk more about the budget. I know Councilwoman Castellino was asking, if we could have another work session. If I may, Mr. Gross or Mr. Sayers, is there time to do another work session with the budget? Do we have enough time to do another Saturday?
State budget doesn't pass till July.
I'm sorry? No.
We don't have to do a Saturday.
Let me get an answer first, please.
The answer is you have now scheduled a budget hearing with the public on the 16th of July. The intention is to either adopt at the 16th or the next meeting, regular meeting you would have would be a month, approximately a month later. That puts us back. We've budgets have been adopted in that time frame before. It is, we are going to move forward with an estimated tax bill for the third quarter. Having said that, having said that, it's up to you if you want to schedule your own. You can. The council kind of meetings whenever they want to talk whatever they want to talk about.
Okay.
As I think we were just discussing, to the extent that you have all the material that we can provide you. We've provided you with all the detail. We provided you with a breakdown of the cost of services. As we talked about Saturday, it's the decision about what services, or does the council want to make sure they don't touch, and which ones would they touch if they are?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
With all due respect, again, and I stated this on Saturday, the mayor has presented his budget to the council. This is the budget we feel from the administration that the township should approve. Whatever you want to do with it is up to you now. We can have another session, but we're not changing our opinion as to what we want to do with that budget. We've made our cuts, and we've presented the budget as it is. So whatever other cuts you're looking to make, you guys can have another session on your own and discuss that and figure it out. But the mayor has presented this budget, and this is the budget that the administration supports. So I'm not so sure what you're looking for or what you want to do, to be quite honest with you, because we've already made our proposal.
So, please, it's not your turn to talk right now. Okay, so.
It's too much.
Oh,
They can't hear.
she can't hear. Oh, speaking to the microphone.
I will. I'll
Sorry,
talk
ma'am.
louder.
Sorry. Okay. Executive session. We're talking. It's my turn to talk. So, executive session to talk about the Bennett
Hey,
Blanket.
I can't hear anything back here.
We can't hear anything.
Should I turn the air off?
Yes, please. Let's turn the air off.
Turn off the air.
Turn off the air. Turn off the air.
Go ahead. Just turn it off.
Thank you.
Turn it off. That's all.
I like how nobody else had. I speak louder than anybody else, and they didn't say anything about anybody else. It's really amazing. Maybe I'm going to change my mind.
The air conditioner kicked
Yeah, I
in.
know. The air conditioner kicked in.
That personal reasons.
I know. No, I'm getting sick of people. Okay. So we're speaking. Well, Nick, she's going to turn it off. I'm cold. I got a jacket. Okay, we're speaking about an executive session, right? For the next meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Do you want me to clarify what?
Sure, clarify.
Okay, so,
Clarify what you're
well, two
saying.
things. One was an executive session in regards to negotiations. The second item I was speaking with, I don't expect to have all the directors come back and for a workshop, just amongst ourselves. Because as to, and the point that Mr. McAbee really articulated, which I feel strong about as well, is we need to make a decision as a council. I definitely
correct.
understand
I agree with
that
that.
the administration is set. They do not want us to deviate from their recommendation. We did deviate. We did, the majority agreed on $130,000 additional dollars to be shaved off the budget. And the only place we could go now is if we were to cut into services or personnel. So if everyone is fine where it stands, then there is no reason to meet. But if we want to have a conversation on programming that, again, like I said, we have to, I'll choose my words differently on TV, I'm on TV tonight, but, we have to have the guts to see what we want to do, if that's what we want to do, because anywhere we go from here on in is going to impact services. And if that's what we decide as a council, we do need to stick together. If we feel we don't want to go in that direction, then we need to figure that out as well. So I think we need a workshop amongst ourselves as opposed to some of us are responding on Facebook and with different emails. I mean, we need to be mature about this, and we need to decide how we're going to handle this, because this is a big impact for the community. It's been one in a while. It's not like it was the only one that wasn't done, I guess about 10 years ago. It's time to pay the piper in some cases with some of the obligations, which is very frustrating as a council person and also as a taxpayer. We're all taxpayers up here. So, and so we need to, we need to decide where we're going to go from here. So that is my recommendation to my colleagues. I don't expect our directors to come back in. I think they were very gracious and very detailed in describing their challenges, and in many cases running their departments with understaffed personnel. So, and I commend them for that as well. So that's all.
Can I, please, sir? Please, it's not your turn. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, Councilman, can I? Okay, so that's
yeah,
what
I'm done.
Okay, so is that our consensus? What we want to do?
I'm in support of that.
I'm certainly in support of it.
I am.
I think what I'm in support of, I'm in support of looking at what their findings are so that we can compare it to what we have. We did not look at that in the budget. We did hear from the administration the reasons why they weren't going in that direction, but I would like to compare the two. Again, since we're not involved in the negotiations, we have not seen that. So if that's the work session you're talking about, because I don't know what else you want to talk about. Yes, I would be in support of sitting down and going over it, but, I voted no on the economic developer. Everything we took out ended up going back in if we approve that position. So I think if there is substantial savings here that we can look at, then that would be what I would consider reviewing.
Okay. So that's the consensus, right? We want to meet again. Okay.
The alternative, I'm sorry, you're right. I apologize.
Okay.
What I'm saying are two different meetings. So one would be an executive session, because we'd have to meet in executive session to discuss the negotiations. And then we would need to have a separate work, which we could do next meeting. Am I correct? We could have an executive session next meeting, because obviously we can't tonight. And then a separate meeting if...
We can tonight if it's a consensus.
Well then, but I'm not sure, is Mr. Gross prepared to go over numbers with us tonight?
We can have a discussion. If you have a...
But you won't have the benefit of having anything that
Council
they
President,
have.
if
Yes,
you
sir.
want,
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr.
if you
Casey.
want to have an executive session tonight, and I don't know if anybody here is prepared to discuss the issue or not, but if they are, you could certainly raise from the floor the resolution to go into executive session to discuss contract negotiations. That's all I'll say.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. Okay, Madam Clerk, where do we stand at right now? I mean, there seems to be a consensus by the members of the Township Council to have another working session. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point in time, can we, so at this point in time, can we pick a date that we're going to do it so the general public knows? And it's in the same format. There is no public input, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so
You need to discuss. You need to understand something, Council President.
Yes, sir.
And I've said this, I said it all day Saturday, I'm going to say it again, I started it again tonight. We've presented our budget.
Yes, sir.
The administration has presented a budget to the council. By law, that's what we have to do. By law now, once you get the budget, the council can cut whatever they want to cut out of that budget. Having another meeting is useless. You have the budget. You guys have the budget. You want to cut something out of it, you can cut it out. That's the bottom line. The administration is not changing the budget that they've presented to the council.
So you're saying at the public presentation, we can make our cuts there?
You can make your cuts anywhere. You can make, you know.
If you have a meeting that's going to be a public meeting like this, you know, and where you can, just like you can discuss whatever you want to discuss.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Councilwoman.
So I just want some clarity, Mr. Sayers, and maybe because of what you just said.
Sure.
If we were to meet after we have a working session or individually with the PBA president and go over the numbers that he has, can you hear me? Go over the numbers that he has and his association has, so that we can better understand the state health benefits plan and the proposed savings and understand where they are. I'll wait till you're done. And understand where they are in their position with respect to negotiation, and understanding that that is an administrative directive, but at least we know when you come to us where we are with our vote in advance of, not like what happened with the fire contract. And I see the president from the Fire Association here. I want to be better informed before we make that decision. So my question to you is,
Better informed about what?
I'm going to ask that question now.
Go ahead.
So when, that's okay, that Joe, I can speak for myself, I can. I am, but I appreciate that. Better understand, after we have an understanding of what the health benefits from the state savings could possibly be, if we come back as a council to say, we want to ensure that there is some meeting of the minds so that we can change the insurance benefits, because that is part of the budget, and if we're willing to cut some of the budget, that would be a big cost savings if it were feasible. Is it doable? Or you're saying, or are you saying, because this is my understanding, this is the budget the mayor gave you, cut what you like, but this is it. So if we'd like to come back and say, well, we think the cost savings is going to be in the benefits plan, I don't know that, but if we say that, are you saying we can't cut that?
What I'm going to say is that if you want to have another meeting and you want to discuss the issues you're discussing here, we should have an executive session so we can discuss it, because I cannot discuss contract negotiations out in public meetings.
Okay, but I wasn't asking for
You want the
contract.
answers to
I
your
was
question,
not. I
we
was
need
not
to go
asking
into
for
executive
contract
session.
negotiations. I was just trying to understand that when you said you're presenting, the mayor has presented the budget. I'm asking about the line item that's the budget, that is the health benefits.
That's what they're trying to negotiate.
What about it?
So you're saying that if we feel that we want to cut that line item, we can't?
I said that if you want to discuss that, we need to go into executive
Okay,
session.
fine.
That's
So
what I'm
then can
telling
I move so we can go into executive session?
you. Sure.
Do I have council colleague support?
Second.
Thank you.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Executive session.
Can we finish?
Yes, ma'am. We are going to go into executive session. Please stay tuned. We'll be back as soon as we can. So we'll be back. Thank you. Thank you. We're back from our executive session. Mr. Sayers, would you like to make a statement, please?
Sure.
I think everybody's paying attention.
Council President, based on our executive session, obviously, we're going to take a look at the numbers and see where they're at. And there are certain things that we had talked about that have to be considered in order to get this done. But the main issue is that if, in fact, after we look at the numbers, it is something that the township would even consider doing, you have to be aware that all the unions have to agree to that, not just one union or two unions. So based on their contracts, all the unions would have to agree to move into the state health benefit plan, because as per the law, it has to be all the employees in the township.
Thank you, Mr. Sayers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
John, did you
Sure.
Yes.
Just one other point in terms of, from a budgeting perspective, whatever impact that an action like this would take would not impact significantly the 2019 budget. By the time something like this got implemented, you'd be near the end of the year. So it would be a future impact.
Yeah, talking to the mic, thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, could we please review the consent agenda? I'm sorry?
I thought Councilman.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there, Councilwoman Castellino, I thought, brought up two different points. One was the issue that I think we just addressed with the executive session, but there was another issue that she wanted to raise, that we should have another meeting to discuss where we want to go from here on the budget. So I don't know if now's the right time to talk about it, or maybe during pending matters, but I just didn't want it to leave thinking that we had settled this, because it got a little convoluted before we left.
We'll do it at matters pending.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Okay, public meeting, I'm sorry, approval of minutes of previous meeting, public meeting, May 29, 2019.
Consent.
Consent.
Report of township officers, none. Reading of petitions and communications and bids, none. Bills, are there any questions on the bills?
Consent.
Consent.
Resolutions, are any resolutions being pulled this evening? We are pulling 15219, or do we just?
Which one we pull?
Oh, okay, never mind.
This is just introduction.
Okay.
Let's have questions.
Councilwoman Castellino, are you pulling any?
I'm not pulling, I just, questions, so. If anybody's pulling, I'll defer to them, but I'm just have questions on a couple items.
Council President, we are going to pull 15219 because I have to do a roll call on the introduction of the budget.
152 has been pulled?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman Castellino?
Okay, so, Mr. Gross, I just want to talk to item 151-19 for the improvements to the municipal lot, Pleasantdale section, and so now we are going to make improvements and implement a pay station in that municipal lot?
sorry, I missed
From what I read, I just want to make sure I read correctly, we're going to make improvements and implement a pay station, or get ready to implement a pay station on 151-19?
Well, 151 is just the design, and
Okay.
this is just design money. And, you know, if there is going to be such a station, that would come out of that.
Okay.
In other words, that would be a result of what you're doing here today.
But I assume in the design, we're going to make way to implement a pay station in that lot.
That certainly we will be considering whether to do that and where and how.
Okay, because that's what
in other words, we're not pre-making that decision, and obviously that would be something we would bring to council.
Okay, so when we do the site improvement or the study, I guess my request is I like to see a pay station occur at that site. Okay, because I know we've been having talks in regards to revenue, generating more revenue, because with our budget crisis, we need to generate more revenue for the township. So, and that is one avenue that we all discussed in exploring. So I would like to see that developed and brought to us.
Understood.
That's, okay.
And my other item is 15819, the tax, I know we're getting ready to get the third quarter tax bill out the door. I assume it's going to be later than usual this year. I hope there'd be a letter to go in with it, and any...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, pertinent information in regard, I'm sure the mayor usually does a letter, but any pertinent information of issues that have come up throughout the year, and probably explaining some of the budget woes, I would like to see some kind of letter to the community. And
I'll discuss that with the mayor.
The mayor, okay, great. And again, just the last comment on it wasn't a question, but a comment on the Ginny Dunkel pool. Again, commend the administration for getting that done with Mr. Keough and with Drill Construction. And it's great to see, again, more revenue being generated through the township pool from the site improvements. So, good job. Council President, I'm done.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to stop making a mess over here. If you could, Mr. Gross, and I know we've been doing this for every time we talk about the budget, but on 158-19, can you just, for the sake of the public, talk about the levy change, the total levy change, the approximate total levy change? Do you have, thank you, just to explain what that 3.5 is and how we got, how this calculation got there.
This resolution is a resolution setting a temporary rate, given that the budget process is extended. This year we'll be doing estimated bills, and the estimate is based on as much information as we have. We don't have it all, but what we don't have for the most part is the county levy. The total increase in the levy or in the rate will be 3.5% is what we're estimating it to be. I know there's been some confusion over that versus the municipal portion, which is a much higher rate, but the overall rate is 3.5%.
So just in plain English, if you will.
Yes.
So assume my tax bill is $18,000. My total increase would be 3.5% of the $18,000.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And also, just, I know that this was pulled, but I also would like an explanation before we take a roll call for 15219, just a very clear introduction of what that is when we get to it, please.
Okay.
Thank you. That's
Thank
it
you.
for me, Council
Councilwoman
President.
McCartney?
Thank you.
Nothing? Oh, nothing, okay. Councilman Kukoviac?
Nothing for me?
Okay, nothing for me. Okay. Mr. Gross, I did have a question. I know we spoke about, I know people were talking about the parking lots and meters and things like that. Is there any proposals or any motions within the administration to look at, lots that need to be upgraded with parking meters, kiosks and such, and a proposal potentially for a parking authority to raise revenue?
I don't have anything to announce tonight, but it is a discussion that we're having with the mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is implemented. Resolutions 152-19, resolution to introduce the 2019 local municipal budget. Mr. Gross?
This is a resolution introducing the budget that was approved by the council this past weekend at the budget hearing with the department heads. This is the introduction, which part of the process, just so you know, there's introduction of the budget, and then not less than 28 days later, have a budget hearing, which then the council will hear from the public on the budget as introduced. And at that point, the council then can make amendments to the budget if necessary, or if they deem necessary, moving forward. And then subsequently, either at that meeting or at a meeting thereafter, would adopt the budget for the entire year. That's the mechanical process of it. And then, since we're doing estimated bills for the third quarter, the actual tax bills will come out in September, October for the November billing.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve 152-19?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is carried. Okay. Ordinances on second and final reading, 2573-19, ordinance of the Township of West Orange adopting a redevelopment plan for Block 155, lots 40-02, 3, 41-02, 42-02, and Block 155.21, Lot 40, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. Is there a motion to approve not to approve? Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
No, he's not. We got to wait for the vote. Yeah, I don't know what. Okay, second.
Okay. Sorry. Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman
Cindy.
Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Councilman, what is your question, sir?
I just wanted to flag this because before we begin discussing the proposed, this is the Essex Green Executive Drive redevelopment plan, the proposed one. I want to follow up from the last council meeting on May 29th. You may recall that we discussed whether to try to get the planner who wrote the redevelopment plan to come before the council to present the plan, to answer questions, and advise us. And Town Attorney Mr. Trink seemed opposed to this, as he's been with planners appearing before the council on other redevelopment documents. After some debate, he suggested that I make a floor motion to bring Ms. Gruhl, who was the planner that wrote the plan and testified to the planning board, to present to the council tonight. And he said he didn't know what the cost might be, but he suggested that the floor motion have a limit of no more than $7,000. So I made the motion, and of course I didn't want to pay $7,000. I didn't expect to pay $7,000. But I'm sorry, I just want to quote Mr. Trink from the meeting. He said at 3 hours, 13 minutes, 43 seconds, he said, "So again, I don't know how much this will cost to get her, but so what I would recommend, Councilman Krokoviac, since it seems to be your application, that you propose a resolution from the floor to allocate up to, I'm just going to say up to $7,000 for Ms. Gruhl to appear at the second reading of Ordinance 2573-19 to provide any answer to council's questions." And when I say I didn't expect to pay $7,000, I just want to show you why that is. And so what I did was I went back to get the resolution where we hired Gruhl in June 2018 and reviewed the underlying contract. And before I continue, I just want to provide this hard copy of the contract to my council colleagues and to Mr. Sayers. Just the last two paragraphs. Did I give you 4 or 5 copies? Do you have an extra one? I have an extra one. Great.
Here's another. Here's some.
Okay, I already read it.
I just need to give this to Mr. Sayers so he can follow along. So here's what the last 2 paragraphs of the contract with Hire Gruhl say. Firm principal Susan Gruhl will attend all public meetings and present the plan at both the planning board and governing body in accordance with the statutory requirements. Our fee for preparation of the redevelopment plan would not exceed...
Thank you. You can continue.
...would not exceed a total of $35,000, $25,000 for the executive drive area and $10,000 for the executive green area, including attendance at 1 planning board meeting and 1 council meeting. All of the meetings will be billed separately per meeting at our hourly rates. So according to the contract, Ms. Gruhl, Hire Gruhl, is required under the contract and to appear before the council and present her plan. And so I want to make a floor motion that we table consideration of this on second reading until we can follow the terms of the contract and get Ms. Gruhl here to present to us and answer questions and advise us.
Is there a second
Yes,
to the motion?
Councilwoman.
Oh, sorry.
Before I either support or not support, can I ask Mr. Gross a question?
sorry?
Can I ask Mr. Gross a question?
Sure.
So according to this, so 1 council meeting. So I'm fine with this as it is, as I stated in the last meeting, as far as understanding the report and being able to vote on the ordinance tonight. However, you have it, Mr. Gross?
Go ahead.
So it states one meeting. So does that mean, or maybe I should ask Mr. Kaiser, does that mean when the mayor makes a proposal for the details of a plan, if one is crafted, again, this is all mute unless a plan is crafted and presented to us, if we don't utilize that meeting, can we utilize that meeting when the mayor comes to make a presentation with us and have the planner with him then? Because I see it more beneficial there if a plan's made to us as opposed to just to decipher the report. So
It's hard for me to say because I'd have to see the actual executed contract. Maybe you can.
Somebody just showed me a copy of the letter,
Right.
and it was passed to Mr. Gross. And frankly, my recollection is, and I may be wrong, it may have been that she was here for some other reason, but Ms. Gruhl was here for a meeting. I just don't remember if it was regarding this particular, project or if it was a different one, because we've hired them more than once. And I'm not going to. I was here at the last meeting. I heard what Mr. Shank said. I don't have the contract. I wasn't privy to it, but I can't contradict them. So.
Okay.
This is just a letter, a proposal, not a contract. So.
Yes, Councilwoman McCartney.
I tend to agree with Michelle because the overlay zoning plan was approved by the planning board. It was unanimously approved by the planning board. So it's not a plan. The plan is not in place. It's a zoning document. I think that would make more sense when a plan is presented. That would be a time if you wanted to ask questions to the planner.
Yes, Councilman.
So I'll read from the resolution. It's Resolution 145-18, approved by the council and the council majority June 12, 2018. I'm reading 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. Whereas Hire Gruhl and Associates located at 236 Broad Street in Red Bank, New Jersey, 07701, submitted a proposal annexed hereto as Exhibit A, the proposal, to prepare and present a redevelopment plan for the redevelopment area for an amount not to exceed $35,000. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of West Orange that the Township be and hereby is authorized to retain Hire Gruhl to prepare a redevelopment plan consistent with the requirements of NJSA 40A:12A-7 and the proposal annexed hereto as Exhibit A. And be it further resolved that the business administrator is authorized to execute any necessary agreements or documents, if any, to finalize the retention of Hire Gruhl consistent with the proposals annexed hereto as Exhibit A. I'm just reading the excerpts. I've already read you the actual letter that was given to us for consideration. I also want to clarify Councilwoman McCartney's comments and perhaps Councilwoman Castellino's. The term redevelopment plan has a very specific meaning under the state local redevelopment law. And it is this plan that we are asked to approve on second reading tonight. There is nothing more, nothing less. There is no proposed development plan. There is the redevelopment plan that we're being asked to review and approve and perhaps change. And it's the subject, the absolute precise subject of Resolution 145-18 and the proposal that is contained within it that the council majority approved on June 12, 2018.
Yeah.
The contract says Hire Gruhl must appear before us on this plan. This plan has never been discussed before, so I'm not sure what Mr. Kaiser is talking about, but this plan came before the first reading on May 29th. I brought up this issue, and now this is the next council meeting when we're supposed to be reading it on second issue, and it is crystal clear to me that we should table this until we can get Ms. Gruhl here. And it's not going to cost us another penny.
May I, Councilman?
Yes, ma'am.
So, again, so for me, it's not the cost. I'm understanding of the plan. I also know There's time constraints with library funding. If we were to move and the funding, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gross, with the contribution from the state, and I know there, so again, where are we with the timeline of that? Because I don't want to jeopardize, again, if some of you need to have her come here because you're not, you need more thorough explanation on the plan, I personally am good. I read through this, I asked my questions, I'm fine, but that doesn't mean, that there isn't support here to have her come. I just want to make sure with the timeline, because I know to get the matching funds from the state, if we were to move the library up to Executive Drive, there's a timeline for that. So where are we with that?
Well, any anticipation of senior housing would trigger any potential developer to apply to the state for assistance with that. That's almost the nature of that. And those timelines are coming up there this summer sometime. I don't have the exact dates of when those are.
Well, wouldn't it be the senior housing, would be the library getting the matching funds for the renovation at Executive Drive. I just talked to Mr. Kuby today, so that's why I stated that. I know there is a timeline on it.
Well, then you're talking about something I'm not aware of.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about, I know you were talking about that, but in terms of the library, this site here.
Yeah, no. Where we want to make the move, there's matching funds that the state, or partial matching funds that the state will put towards the construction, the library construction fund. But I know that there's a timeline for application, so that's what my concern is. But again, if a few of you need for her to come here, I'm respectful of that, but I just want you to be aware that there may be a timeline that we need to be following.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilwoman.
So the executive drive would include the library, the potential library move. The potential library move. Potential.
Yes. Yes.
So I would be supportive of Councilman Krokoviac's need to have her here.
There's still, I have to go back. There is still no plan. And in the zone up there, it's listed that the library could be a permitted use up there. The plan has not been presented. So there really is no real question, nothing, everything is laid out in that redevelopment plan.
So going back, if I may, Council President.
Go ahead.
So going back to Councilwoman Castellino's a question about the timeline application and the matching funds for the library renovation. Because there is no plan for the library at Executive Drive at this time, it's just a zoning overlay.
Right.
When would that plan come into play? When would that plan be introduced? Because there is still testing. We approved last council meeting for testing of the steel columns, I believe, to make sure that there was enough weight in there. So that's when the plan would come into play,
Right. Mm-hmm.
once the testing came back.
Right.
The only, I read through this quickly, the ordinance and the redevelopment plan attached to it. It's an overlay zoning thing, which was decided by the planning board. Susan says unanimously. I wasn't there, but so that's all you're approving today.
So,
If if there's a development plan eventually for the library, they've got to go before the board and get approval.
so if I could just finish. So I would be more interested in having Ms. Gruhl come out once we have the testing back from the labs with respect to the weight capacity, the weight-bearing capacity, for the potential move of the library.
Those studies were already done. That was part of this plan. Those studies were already done.
We just approved for them to cut and test the steel because there was no records found that could clarify and verify whether or not there was a weight load-bearing capacity for library. So we just approved that the last.
And there's no plan to test that. They would have to present it. That's the library here?
No, no, I'm talking about Executive
Off
Drive.
the Hill.
I'm talking about Executive Drive. We did approve testing.
A study, right?
Okay, so that's what I was referring to.
But that's not questions for the planner?
Once the plan became available.
Right.
That's what I was indicating.
Well, that would be when
Council
the planner,
President.
you could ask those questions.
That's what I was indicating,
Council
yes.
President, can I say something?
Yes.
All you're approving is the redevelopment plan.
Right,
To
no
make it a
action, no nothing.
No actions, no nothing.
Nothing.
Ms. Gruhl went before the planning board approved this. All you're doing is saying we're going to approve this as a redevelopment plan, period. It has nothing to do with anything, no plans of what's going to go there, what's not going to go there. It's just whether you're making it a redevelopment zone or not, period. That's what this ordinance is about.
Yes.
The question is, I don't know what questions you have for Ms. Gruhl. I mean, so if you have questions for her, you know, I don't know what they would be, but.
Yes, Councilman.
Let me just give you one question that I'd like to ask her. On page 5, it says, Block 155, Lot 40.03, is a vacant lot fronting on Rooney Circle. This lot features a narrow strip that runs along the length of Rooney Circle to Prospect Avenue. That's an end quote. I called up the planning board, and they told me that that is not true, that is not correct. So I'd like to ask Ms. Gruhl why she put it in the redevelopment plan to begin with. So that's one thing.
Who did you speak to on the planning board?
I said the planning, I'm sorry, if I said the planning board, I meant the planning department.
Okay, well, Ms. Gruhl presented this plan to the planning department, and they approved it. The board.
Yes, and I'm telling you that's what's in the plan. And Mr. Case, you just asked, he doesn't know what questions I might ask, but this is one of them. And I want to know why that's in the plan when it is patently untrue. I can go through all the other questions I want to ask her about this, but I want to bring this back. First of all, this is required. We are required to review this because it is an important element of the redevelopment law. If you want me to read from the redevelopment law, if you need to take a couple of minutes to get the quotes, I'll tell you.
Not tonight.
You guys keep talking about, oh, there's some element of the actual proposal to develop it. No, that is not what we're talking about, and that's not what the redevelopment law says. This resolution recognizes that, this proposal recognizes that, and the law itself recognizes that. We do not have the luxury of saying, oh yeah, we just gave them $35,000 and they said they were going to come here, but we're not going to come here. We're not going to make her come here. That's just crazy. It is a contract, and it's been approved by the council majority.
Councilman, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you believe that this ordinance is about just making that a redevelopment zone? Is that what you understand this to be? I'm asking you a question. What are you laughing for?
Of course it is.
Okay.
Of course it is.
So
now let me ask you a question, because you're a lawyer. When it says, firm principal Susan Gruhl will attend all public meetings and present the plan at both the planning board and governing body in accordance with the statutory requirements, and then it says, including attendance at one planning board meeting and one council meeting. Do you think that, and we've approved that, and we've given them money, do you think that obligates us?
No, but you don't. It doesn't say she has to be here. And
It certainly does. She says she's going to be here.
It does not say that she has to be here, Councilman.
I've read it to you multiple
It
times.
doesn't say she must be at the council meeting. It does not say that. It does not say that. If the council wants to vote to change it, you can change it.
The council
That's up
has
to you.
already voted, Mr. Sayers. They voted last June.
No.
They voted 4-1.
You have to vote on this ordinance. So the council has to vote on this ordinance, whether you want to table it or not table it. That's it.
If 3 members of the council or more want to hear from Ms. Gruhl, I mean,
Council members, okay. Madam Clerk, it seems the council wants to see if it's going to be moved.
Is
or-
there a second on the motion to table the ordinance?
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
No.
Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney? No. Council President Garino.
No.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Excuse me.
Well, no, you have to do public hearing.
Yes.
Mr. Kaiser, can you look into that if the mayor makes a presentation, if she could come to that?
I'm not following.
In regards, if we move forward with this, the mayor makes a presentation, can...
Nothing.
There was already a presentation made with respect to this, right, before, so...
Well, no. If there's a proposal made...
No rule of law in this town.
Okay.
We had a public hearing. Shall I ask you a question?
So my question is, can you look to see if we'll be charged if we have her come to a future meeting in regards to this subject matter?
As I sit here, I don't know the answer to that question. so-
Can you find out the answer for us? Thank you. Because the way I'm reading this is, if we bring her to another meeting, we will not be charged. So, but I don't, for the meeting that is, we could really ask questions in regards to the...
I don't know, look, all I'm going to say is, I don't know if she
Mr. Kaiser,
if she can charge or not, as I sit here. The question is, do you have questions of her?
Excuse me, Mr. Kaiser's trying to, the council's asking questions. The public had its time to talk. Please show courtesy like we show courtesy to you. That's all I'm asking. Or you can leave. If you don't want to be courteous to the council members or to the speakers, you're free to leave.
They can still speak. It's an ordinance.
And there is a point to talk about this ordinance if you give us a chance to move forward.
Ken, please finish.
Ken, go ahead, continue.
The point I'm trying to make is, if the council has questions of Ms. Gruhl, you can ask that she come to answer those questions. The question is, do you have questions? And I mean, this is a 41-page plan attached to this ordinance. I'm assuming that...
I'm not talking about this ordinance. In the future, my question is, in the future, if we have another meeting in regards to a proposal that the administration will bring forward to us, can you please find out if she will be charging us to come? That's what I want to have the information ahead. That very simple question. I know it was in the middle of a little commotion, so thank you, Mr. Kaiser.
Yes.
Just to go back to Councilwoman Castellino's original point, initial point was that it was for one planning board meeting.
One meeting.
And one council meeting.
Yes.
So it makes sense to come back when there's actually a plan?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And this plan is already spelled out to the permitted uses that are there.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we have to vote now on this, then I can open it to the public.
He just said that.
I just said that, okay? Don't tell me how to run a meeting, or you can leave.
Don't start that. Don't start that.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, you call for public comment.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone in the general public who would like to speak about ordinance number 2573-19? Please come forward. Yes.
Michaela Bennett, Old Indian Road. Two council members wanted to bring someone.
I can't hear you. Please speak louder and clearly into the microphone, please.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
He has it.
I can't hear you. Okay, I'm having a problem with my hearing. So is that a problem for you? I just asked you nicely to speak clearly into the microphone. Thank you. Yeah.
We're leaving.
I just asked if you can't hear me.
I couldn't hear you. So please continue.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Is it this one?
You have to use both.
Okay. Two council members asked to bring someone back to speak with them. One council member raised to all of you the fact that your attorney told you you'd have to pay upwards of $7,000. And then your council member pointed out to you that that was a complete falsehood, that contractually she was obligated to come back. And not surprisingly, the three council members who vote en masse en bloc to do whatever the mayor wants done, voted to block an individual from coming to the council to provide clarifications on areas of a redevelopment plan. Why that matters is because once you vote to accept this plan, the area is determined to be in need of redevelopment. Executive Drive. Did you say that's correct? Yes. Executive Drive. It's very interesting to me who used to office in Executive Drive. The mayor used to office in Executive Drive. Mr. Trank used to office in Executive Drive. And the proposed developers who are going to benefit from this area determined to be in need of redevelopment, and the pilots that will undoubtedly come because the area was determined to be in need of redevelopment, will all be on your watch. And we're all paying attention to this. At a time where the mayor tells you he needs to increase our taxes by 8.5%, he's unwilling to listen to our police and accept a $4 million cost savings, he's ramming things through and getting you to be complicit in his agenda. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. That is unacceptable. You were not elected to do the mayor's bidding or his administration's bidding. You were elected to review plans that were proposed and determine whether or not they're appropriate, determine whether or not they deserve more scrutiny, and determine whether or not we deserve to be protected differently. But instead, a simple Q&A of the individual who wrote the plan, you determine is unnecessary, despite the fact that you were shown by one of your council members that there are errors in the report or inconsistencies in the report according to people who work for the township. Perhaps you think that's acceptable. I don't.
Yes, ma'am.
Claire Silvestri, 20 Grandview Avenue. I've been attending council meetings for close to 10 years. I have sat through countless iterations of the Edison redevelopment project, as well as the Essex Green redevelopment project. In the past, we have always had the planner come. The planning board is not televised. This is a major project. We are talking about over 400 residential units, plus moving our library to Executive Drive, which then would trigger the mayor's promise that he would only look at pilots if there was a public component. With our taxes looking at going up 8.5%, the last thing we need is pilots. This project should be given this plan because, as the previous speakers referenced, once you approve it as an area in need of redevelopment, it opens up a whole Pandora's box. This plan should be scrutinized. The planner should be here, and contractually, she is required to be here. This idea of a timeline that 2 weeks is going to make all the difference in the world is just ridiculous. And you are not representing the best interests of the people of West Orange by making such a ridiculous decision here. There is nothing This is so cut and dry. You should table this motion and have Ms. Gruhl come. Anything other is a total abdication of your responsibility as elected officials of our residents. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard? Yes?
Susan Luntrick, 234 Eagle Rock Avenue. You are elected to represent us, the public, not to represent the administration, but the public. Does the public not deserve to have clarification? Does the public not deserve to have the rule of law followed in this town? If in fact there is no additional cost associated with bringing back this person to clarify questions, and if it's required that that person be here, then why would you not allow this? Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard? Seeing no more public comment, I open it to my council colleagues. What? What did I do?
Nothing. I wanted to clarify a couple of things that were just said. That there was a study that was done, and the area was determined to be an area in need of redevelopment. After that was determined, there was a plan in place. This is a redevelopment plan because there were 58% vacancy at that space. We went through $4 million in tax appeals, and the plan, and it was unanimous. This particular plan was unanimously approved by the planning board. It's an overlay zone of what could go there. There's still retail, there is residential component, there is a proposed library, there are community features, municipal features. It still has, we're still looking to relocate the DPW. We don't necessarily want it there, but it could be approved in that plan. There still is no plan that has been presented by a planner, and a planner has come to the council meetings when there's a plan. So if this is what this is saying, that the planner can come here to a planning meeting and one council meeting, I think, since not everyone comes to the planning board meetings, that would be the time that you would want the planner to come. That's all I'm saying.
Anyone else of my colleagues?
Yeah, I'll speak again. So I'm not going to get into the, you sit here, we sat here, I'm trying to take the emotion out of it. So we all do our jobs up here, even when we disagree. Studied this, read it, I understand. Excuse me, Miss Bennett. Okay, you spoke that.
Michelle, just keep going.
Michelle?
Okay, okay, then I apologize. But it's very frustrating. The time we put into our position, that's fine, because I signed up for this, and I'm proud of it. I've been doing it for many years. I felt not to be supportive of that because I want to move the process along. I know that we have the votes, and no disrespect to my council colleagues, but I'd rather bring the planner back when the plan is presented. There is not a plan right now. $4 million in lost tax revenue from Executive Drive. So as far as a pilot, we are not even near there. There is not a plan other than to hopefully make way to make our West Orange Public Library up there, and if that is potential. So we've done due diligence there. We supported that, and there is a timeline. Whether Mrs. Krakowiak, you talked to Mr. Kuby, there is a timeline. The state will be offering matching funds. I don't see tonight for us to slow up the process because the support is there to approve this plan. I fully understand the plan. I believe my colleagues who voted has as well. And I encourage my colleague to call the planner, because that won't cost us any money, to ask any questions that you may have. And that's it. So, we need to move on. And I am full support in Mr. Kenny, whether we pay for it or not, and find out if there is a cost involved, that if and when the administration brings a plan to us, that the planner will be presented at that time. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman McCartney.
So there has to be a timeline because, as I said at the start of the meeting, there is a special meeting. Planning Board meets the first Wednesday of every month, and that meeting has been pushed up to next Tuesday, June 18th.
Councilwoman, you have anything to say?
I just had a question. How, with respect to, and I typically do pick up the phone because I like immediate answers. For the benefit of the public, I certainly supported Councilman Krakowiak, particularly since he picked up and found a discrepancy and had several other questions. So to clarify those discrepancies and questions that he had for the public, I certainly support him in wanting to have her here, particularly since we're paying for it anyway. With respect to pushing up timelines, again, this is something that has been, not pushing up, let me rephrase that. There exist any timelines, we should all be aware of those timelines. We're not. It's not okay to assume that because there is a planning board meeting that has been moved up, that we all understand the assumption of why that has been moved up. It is concerning that there is errors in, or discrepancies, not errors, or discrepancies in that. I am satisfied that I do understand that this area has already been designated an area in need of redevelopment. It has been. That's not what this is. $4 million in lost taxes is really distressing for the township, in addition to what we have already faced. The development there is going to happen. It is up to us to look at the plan when it comes to the plan after the planning board, when it comes to the council, to have Ms. Gruhl here to ask her those questions and make sure that whatever plan we approve is within regulations and what's in the best interest of the town, residents in the township. Again, this is not something that has not already been designated. There is studies that are happening currently at Executive Drive. If it is determined that the load, the steel foundation of the structure at 10 Rooney Circle happens to facilitate the move of the library, that may very well happen. But again, that's up to the council to decide at the time it's presented. It hasn't been presented to us. That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I just want to say, we can't, you have to worry about timelines, and you have to make sure the projects start and complete within specific timelines. The prime example is Edison Lofts. Edison Lofts was held up by the same tactics that this is going on right now. Edison Lofts should have been completed 5 years ago, and it would have. But when you play around with timelines, you play around construction schedules and play around with planning purposes, and when the market changes and you can't do the project, then things sit there and tax revenue, it goes away. So that's why you have to move forward with projects. It's not trying to block anything. It's not trying to hide anything. It has nothing to do with pilot. It has nothing to do with pilots, but never been mentioned, except in Edison Lofts. But you have to look at it about that way. And that's what we do our job to do. We do it because we serve the people, and you elected us to make those decisions. And sometimes you're not going to agree with us, and sometimes you will agree with us. But at the end of the day, we do what we think is best for you, and we listen to you. But accusations and assumptions and things are totally negative. But that's the way we have to look at it. Thank you. Madam?
She's coming in there.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You ready to vote on this?
Yes, please.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve 2573 on second and final reading?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay. 2574, an ordinance -19, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7 Traffic, subsection 7-10.1, stopping or standing prohibited during certain hours on certain streets of the revised general ordinances of West Orange, Pleasant Valley Way. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
So, second, sorry.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Is anyone from the general public wishing to be heard on ordinance 2574-19? Seeing none, I close public comment. Anyone of my council colleagues wishing to speak on this ordinance?
No.
Yes, ma'am. No? Anybody have any questions about it?
No,
this-
just probably reinstate.
Okay, this is about the parking spots on Pleasant Valley Way.
Yeah, in front of Burger King, so
Okay.
this way the public understands where.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Okay. Is there a motion to approve 2574-19?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Ordinance 2575-19, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7 Traffic, subsection 7-23.1, turn prohibitions during certain hours on certain streets of the revised general ordinances of West Orange, 303 Mount Pleasant Avenue. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Is there anyone from the general public wishing to be heard on ordinance 2575-19? Anybody? Okay. I close public comment. Any one of my council colleagues have any questions about this ordinance?
No.
Seeing none, I close our comment. Madam Clerk, please.
Is there a motion to approve 2575-19?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay.
There are no ordinances on first reading,
Yes,
of
there
course.
You're not looking at the revised
I'm
agenda.
sorry?
You're not looking at the revised agenda.
Oh, sorry.
2578, this is on first reading, calendar year 2019 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Is there a motion to introduce on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay. Pending matters, new matters, council discussion.
Councilwoman Castellino?
So, in regards to my,
After, I'm following the agenda.
yeah. So, in regards to my original requests that, for my colleagues to meet to further discuss the budget, do we want to schedule a date, or how would you like to proceed?
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to first have a discussion with respect to the state health benefit plans with the police unions.
So then we would have to schedule after the next meeting then, so we could set a date the next meeting. Is that good with my colleagues?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
We would have to schedule after our next meeting. What's our next meeting, Madam Clerk?
July
Next meet-
16th.
Oh, that's our next meeting? We have one more meeting in June?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Maybe
it's
that
a-
was wishful thinking.
No, you're
Sorry. June 25th. I apologize.
That's-
Is everyone available that week if we were to need to have
Let me
any
take a look at my-
discussion?
So before that?
No,
After
no.
that?
If
After
you want to
that.
wait to after
We would need an
25th, we would
executive
have to have our executive session on the 25th and then have a discussion right after. I mean, I'm not suggesting the Saturday. We could do it at night as well, because the administration, just for those who say that I'm a rubber stamp, was not supportive of this suggestion from me. So you don't have to be present. We can have this discussion amongst ourselves, I guess. So
A workshop.
a workshop.
Working session.
Yeah, I would deem it as a workshop.
On what day?
But it does have to be a public meeting.
Yes, that
Yeah.
I'm aware. So someone, I assume, has to watch us.
I will.
That would be you.
It'll have to be advertised, so.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Kaiser, can you just explain to the public why a working meeting is not, although it's a public meeting, public participation is not?
Well, the council can't meet in private. Only 2 members at a time can meet privately. Once there's a quorum of 3, it has to be a public meeting, and it has to be advertised under the Open Public Meetings Act, so anybody can come who wants to come. And I'm not, it's really up to the council whether they want to hear from the public in a situation like that. It's not, there's no set rule about it, so it's up to you.
I just need to know when I do the notice whether or not you want public comment. I have to state that on the notice.
I would want it to be a workshop like it was on Saturday. I think it's a discussion amongst ourselves, and again, we have to, I guess, do a tentative date pending what is discussed on the 25th.
All right, do we have to decide that now, the date?
I think so. I would say yes.
Well, no, you need what, 48 hours notice?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
You have to make sure this room is available. I mean, I don't know.
Yes,
I know
all
what I
right, so
need to do,
we'll come up with a date.
Yeah.
You
We
can
have plenty-
contact me.
We have time.
Yeah.
You could talk to each other
So
over the
what are you
phone,
doing?
whatever.
Don't have time.
We're gonna discuss it and then
Let
agree
me
on
know,
a date.
and
Yes.
then
And how many people are coming? The whole council?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yes,
a workshop.
yes.
Okay.
The date's not going to be decided tonight. You're going to decide the date and let me know.
Yes.
So you can
Okay.
make phone calls or.
Sure.
Okay.
Now, mind you, if you're not, if we stay at the recommendations that we did on Saturday, there's no reason to move forward. So, this is, again, a discussion. Think about it. I'm throwing it out there this evening. And I just want to give us options. I want to make sure that we do as much due diligence as we can possibly do when we make a decision on this budget. And if it's painful and we need to move forward with it, it's something that we all need to be solid on. And I think that requires a discussion.
Okay. And you did want an executive session on the 25th? Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, so that will
Mr.
go on.
Gross is going to hopefully bring us back information.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
So now we have an ABC hearing, so we
Okay,
can...
we have to adjourn this
Right,
meeting.
motion
Yes.
to
Okay.
enter into ABC and adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting and emerge as the ABC board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney? Yes. Council President Garino.
Yes. Thank you, West Orange. Good night. See you on the 25th. Have a great beginning of your summer.